Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stand. Looking ahead, this is your road trip, wet road trip / preview to Newcastle at home. The boards are up. We're waiting for the Newcastle fans to arrive. They'll be coming here in their drones, thousands coming boisterous, a return in form. Everything is going well for Newcastle right now, and they'll be coming here, I would say, with no fear. But they're coming here to face a Manchester United, a resilient Manchester United now, one that has picked up form since the Derby defeat. 3 wins on the bounce since we played City, and a lot of people looking at the game the other night against Ammonia as a negative. I'm not. I did say on the night, I said we did everything that was expected that night except score. And we did in the end, and we got the win, which was massively important. But everything else in that game, I thought, was just complete control. And we are getting better at controlling games. We did it against Everton, and with Casemiro in midfield, we are moving forward in terms of how we can actually dominate games, and we can dictate the pace. That's what's interesting. We're going to come up against the Newcastle team here, which I think is going to be different to many a years gone by. I think they've got one win in their last 27 visits to Old Trafford. That's crazy. That's the same stat I was putting out for Ammonia about wins in Europe the other day. That shows you how one-sided this fixture has been over the years, especially in the Premier League years. But we're still going into this game thinking this Newcastle team actually do carry more of a threat now. We're going back to more of a threat than the Kevin Keegan, say Alan Shearer days, when Newcastle really were a threat when they came to Old Trafford. We had better games against them and more competitive games at St James's Park, but nevertheless, this fixture always brings goals. It did last season, it's done it in seasons gone by. I think the last time and the last victory that Newcastle did have was the boring 1-0, which David Moyes was in charge of. Since then, it's just been like it was in the Fergie era. Goals, 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 and I fully expect the brakes not to be put on like that bike that's just gone past there. I think both teams will be going at it. I tell you what, every time I stand there, someone goes past and does something, I swear. Anyway, there'll be no brakes like that going on this weekend. Anyway, it'll be two teams playing to their strengths, which is in attack. You say United's defence has strengthened up, but then you get games like Manchester City where that argument gets blown completely out of the window. Looking at it though, Newcastle have been decent at the back. They have been solid. And I think it's a balance that Eddie Howe's been trying to make. Looking at Newcastle, they've had lots of draws. They've been playing safe. They've competed when they've need to, but they haven't really gone out like I thought they would, which would be more on the attacking front. It's what Eddie Howe used to be like at Bournemouth. And I thought with the money and the investment that they've had, the 200 million that they have spent, I think since the new ownership has taken charge at Newcastle, hasn't been swashbuckling, gun-ho football. It's been controlled and measured. And they've been very competitive. They haven't been outplayed yet this season. I think Brighton came closest to that in that one where they escaped with a draw in that, and I thought Newcastle were fortunate to get a draw in that game. Barring that, they competed well with City, and we all know what City did to us. So Newcastle come here, I think, with no fear. I really do think. The only thing that could probably sway Newcastle to thinking slightly negative is that record that I did mention them, when they've not won here for such a long time, and a long time before that win against David Moyes, like I said. But I look at it and I go, Newcastle's threats, there are plenty. They really are. I mean, we only have to look at Saint-Maximin and how he just destroys Manchester United every time he seems to play them. He is a threat, especially in the away fixture, I'll say that. But there were times here last season, it was Ronaldo's return. And I said, I can remember standing outside Old Trafford here saying that that game wasn't a 4-1. It wasn't a 4-1 win for Manchester United, that game. The scoreline totally deflected away from how that game went. It went to 1-1, and at 1-1, Newcastle were carrying a massive threat on the break, and Saint-Maximin was the one carrying that threat. They'll have Wilson fit. Obviously, Isaac is still out injured on their biggest blow, but full strength other than that. No new injury news, says Eddie Howe. So looking ahead to this game, I think it's going to be two teams that have got pretty much full strength, because listening to listening to Eric Ten Hag in his press conference after the Ammonia game on Thursday night, is a chance that Martial might even be fit. So more options for United. Harry Maguire definitely out, but you've got the likes of the competition for places now that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. Luke Shaw obviously putting himself back in the frame. Malacia having a couple of bad games, but that strength and depth is there for Manchester United. And you know what? In a way, it's there for Newcastle as well. They will be buoyed by being able to go in and select whatever team they want. And you know what? For the first time in a while, you could say that this is quite an even game between Manchester United and Newcastle. Yeah, there's been times like last season when United were completely out of form and Newcastle picked up. I remember the draw at St James's Park, and it sort of just picked their season completely up. And this was before the investment that came in. This was before everything was just completely turned around at Newcastle. He had a result and it changed their season. Past that, it's been pretty much one-sided over the years. United have always, and in this fixture at Old Trafford, have always been pretty much on top and dominant. I don't see it being that way. I see it being a lot tighter. And whether that's a lot tighter with a lot of goals, say a score draw, or Manchester United sneaking it by one, I think United will approach this cautiously, and I don't think they're going to be like, because we're at Old Trafford again, we've just beaten Arsenal, we've just beaten Liverpool here in the league. We are very confident here at Old Trafford at the moment. I do think they're going to show, and Ten Hag will show the respect. I was sat in the press conference when he was talking about Newcastle the other night, and he was saying they're a very, very good team and they carry that threat, especially going forward with the pace and power. And we've seen here the other night against Ammonia how we were susceptible to the break and how fast Ammonia broke on us. There were times and there were calls for Martinez possible to be sent off. Lindelof was left wanting in terms of pace. If that's coming up against the likes of Wilson and Saint-Maximin at weekend, Almiron added to that, then we are going to struggle. Does that mean that Ten Hag is going to go against what he has always done in keeping a winning team? Because Lindelof looked like, I'm not saying Lindelof has played bad, but when you look at Liverpool, sorry, not Liverpool, when you look at Newcastle and what they carry and where their threat is, it is pure, raw pace. I just don't think Lindelof is the man to actually counteract that. I don't think he's the man to partner Martinez. I do believe that we have to change it back to Varane for this game. And that's, like I said, it's not putting anything against Lindelof. I just see Newcastle's threat as pace. And if Ten Hag has done his own work, and I know he would have, and he would have looked at Newcastle and seen where they can affect Manchester United, it will be on that break and with that pace. Varane needs to be in that team. De Gea needs to stand up in this game and be a sweeper keeper, I think. He needs to play like he did against Everton, which was exceptional. On that break, when that comes, he needs to be on the edge of the box and ready, because Newcastle will beat us on the break. They've got the pace to take our defence apart. And I'm not saying that lightly, just to build this up as a game that it's not. It will be that type of game, and it will be very close. And Newcastle will fancy their chances against Manchester United's backline, as good as it has been. But Lindelof is not the man for me. And I keep saying it, I don't want to say that in disrespect to him, but Varane and Martinez are a partnership which will counteract Newcastle's threat best. I see Luke Shaw definitely being in for this game. It's that type of game where you need that bit of know-how against what's coming. And last year, I'm all for him playing. I won't have a problem if he started this game, but I would have that slight bit of fear in how Newcastle are down the wings and how fast they are. I think Luke Shaw could handle that a little bit better with the know-how. Malacia's chance will come, but the way Luke Shaw's playing and the way he came on against Ammonia the other night and did well in the attacking side of things as well, I think he gets the nod again. That would be my team, that would be my defence. Dalot, Shaw, Varane, Martinez with De Gea in goal behind them. That's how I think Ten Hag will approach it. I would be really surprised if he did play Lindelof, because I think that's where we are going to be undone by Newcastle. Going into the midfield, I think it'll be as it was against Newcastle. It's working well. I'm not having the criticism that Bruno's getting at the moment. I thought he was our best player the other night against Ammonia. His shooting needs to be sharpened up, I'll say that, but which one of the other forwards can you say that against? Every single one of them at the moment isn't doing enough in terms of scoring goals or their output. The play and the build-up is excellent, the work rate is superb, and we're playing as a team, but we do need to be a bit more clinical. There hasn't been one game this season that we've won, and we've won a few now, where we've felt comfortable, where we've just been cruising towards the end of the game to bed. We're having this uncanny knack of not being able to close games out and making it awkward and nervy. And when it gets nervous in Old Trafford, it's probably works completely against us as much as it would when the crowd are behind us, because it's so big and you can hear the groans, and Newcastle will feed on that. United need to be positive and they need to keep the crowd on side. They need to be brave, like Ten Hag has said, and trust and believe in their own ability that they can be positive and can take that risk and can go past the player or play that pass that isn't just a square pass. Because the longer the game goes on, I think Newcastle will feel more confident in this about nicking that goal, as United do search for it. So United need to be positive from the off. And I think goals in the first half, I do believe that the first goal is important in this one as well. I think if Newcastle get it, United might struggle, because then Newcastle can play us on the break. And it's going to take severe work rate to try and keep up with that. Newcastle fresh from not playing in midweek. Manchester United obviously bust a gut when we didn't think they would be doing against Ammonia. I'm using all of our substitutes to try and get through that game was a surprise to everyone. So you got to look at it and go, Newcastle are fresher. Newcastle look like they're ready for this. And United, depends on how fit we are. Depends where we are in terms of fitness and how much of a break we've had since that game against Ammonia on Thursday night. That's what's key to this one. And I do believe that this is going to be one of them games that no one's going to really be able to predict. I suppose if you asked any pundit or any expert or anyone in the journalism, they'd be struggling to pick a winner in this one. There's 1 point between us, 6 against 5th. It's a big statement for either team today, this one. If it goes down to Newcastle winning, then they look like they have turned that corner and can be taken seriously as a contender for top 6. United, going under the radar at the moment and just creeping up there and staying in contact with the top 4, this would be a big statement win for United. If United come away with a win in this one, we'll be really closing in on that top 4. Like I said, we've had all the bad this season. We had a shocking start to the Europa League. We're now pretty much qualified. We're getting smashed by Brentford, Brighton and City. We're 1 point off top 4 with a game in hand, 3 teams in front of us. It isn't bad. A win this weekend be massive for Manchester United and will cement their status as serious challengers for the top 4 in my opinion, with Tottenham and Chelsea to follow. Big games are coming for United. Hopefully we can make the start we need by beating Newcastle this weekend. Guys, let me know what you think. Drop your comments in below. Are you changing up the defence? Are you bringing certain players out from the game against Ammonia? Are you keeping the same team? What are your score predictions? How do you see this one going? Like, share and subscribe to the United Stand. We'll see you all on Sunday for the game.